I have the first generation Nintendo Switch and it's old, dusty, the fans are loud, the temperatures are always high, and there's a horrible joystick drift, and it just feels like there's a ghost controlling the controllers all the time. Now we do have a video where we swap out the drifting joysticks on the Joy-Cons to the new Ghoulie kit Hall sensing joysticks, which is coming soon by the way, so do subscribe so you don't miss out on that video as well. With all of those issues at hand, I want to play Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, the trailers look really good and sure, I can buy a new Nintendo Switch, but I don't want to, since the performance is the same across all different Switch versions. We all know how laggy it is when we go into Korok Forest in Breath of the Wild, and the fan noise literally becomes like a whirlwind. So how can we fix it? Today I will show you a simple maintenance that you can actually do on your own Nintendo Switch, and we're going to just reapply the thermal paste. What we'll need is a tube of thermal paste, preferably a good one, but I'm just gonna use some leftovers that we have from a PC installation that we did a while back, a set of screwdrivers with the tri-wing bit, hashtag not sponsored by iFixit, and also we'll need some alcohol swabs and also some patience to disassemble the Nintendo Switch. But before we proceed though, we need to know what's the temperature of the Nintendo Switch right now before we do the cleaning and reapplying thermal paste and whatnot. Thankfully, since this is the first generation Nintendo Switch, we can mod it, and we can also install some plugins to monitor everything that's going on with the device. So we'll need Tesla Overlay, Status Monitor, Salty NX, and also NX FPS. After installing all of those things, I brought up Breath of the Wild and I can see more than just the temperature and the FPS number. I left the game running for about an hour looking at this part of the Korok Forest because the Switch can only manage to squeeze out 20 FPS consistently at this particular framing. What I'm focusing on are these few datas. FPS, obviously, because if we're going to reapply the thermal paste, I just want to know how much it actually affects the performance. And then the SoC temperature. Since we are going to redo the thermal paste, the temperature is obviously going to be affected, and currently it averages at around 60 degrees Celsius. And then finally, fan rotation level. I think this just means the RPM, I think. Either way, it's always at around 45% idling at this part of the Korok Forest, and if I move around then it can actually go up to 50%. With all of these data logged, we'll turn off the device and then proceed with the surgery. Okay, so we just saw the temperature of the Nintendo Switch when it is docked and playing Breath of the Wild in the Korok Forest, and that is an iconic place to be at because everyone complained about very bad performance in that area for that game specifically. So let's now tear it down and see how's the condition inside, because I have cleaned it once, but it has been 2 years since I last cleaned it. So let's dismantle it. Do keep in mind that this won't be that much of a tutorial on how you can dismantle this and clean it out, but I will guide you through a little bit. So as you can see here, they're using tri-wing screws. The best way to unscrew all of these is to get yourself a proper screwdriver kit. But for my case, I am not sponsored by iFixit, so I'll just use whatever screwdriver kit that I have. I actually got this from Taiwan many years ago actually. Let me see what's the size. Okay, so this is the correct Triforce screwdriver, I guess that's what they call it. It's actually called the tri-wing by the way. So I'm gonna unscrew this. Remember, there's a hidden screw underneath the microSD card reader, so we just take this out first. And then we need to take out the middle screw on the rail here for both sides. These are also Phillips screws. And then there are also 2 more screws at the bottom of the Switch. Okay, so we got all the screws removed and now we can just pop it off real easy. Do take your time and not snap anything because, you know, the Nintendo Switch is mostly plastic, especially the exterior, so you gotta be careful. So there we go, this plastic piece is off and you can see there's a lot of dust around here, this area here. Because as you know, air gets sucked in and then we need to travel upwards to this fan here. So yeah, you can see there's an obvious trace of dust there. I will clean this off later. So we'll take a look at this first. And we need to take out the SD card slot before taking out this metal shield. So we'll just do that right now. So with all of the screws out, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. This should be able to pop out right now. Yes, it is real easy. And here we can already see there's some dust here, which is from the back piece here, out of the fan grills. And then when we flip it this side, we can see thermal paste is right here. So as you can see, I have already reapplied the thermal paste like 2 years ago, and since then it has definitely become a bit more crusty. So I'm gonna change that out as well. I'll leave this aside for now. And this is the inside of the Nintendo Switch. So what we're gonna do is to reapply the thermal paste, because this is definitely disgusting. It's dried out. We need to change that. And then we need to also clean the fan if necessary. And let's just take a quick look here. The fan looks okay, but I will still give it a blow. What about the vents? I'm not sure. They do look okay, I guess. You know what? Let's just take out this bracket here and then we'll re-evaluate what's the situation, because there's definitely gonna be thermal paste underneath that as well, because for whatever reason the Nintendo Switch will have thermal paste from the processor to the heatsink, and then from the heatsink to the heat pipe, and also the heatsink to this back metal shield here. So let's get unscrewing again. Okay, so as you can see here, screw 1, 2, 3 are out, and now we should be able to lift this entire thing out, I guess. Okay, so if we want to take out the fan, there's actually a third screw that's hidden underneath here, which will require us to take out the audio jack as well. So since we're already this far, why not proceed it, right? So now we'll flip this apart and then we can unscrew it. Okay, there we go. That is the entire fan assembly. I'm not sure how's the dust situation here, but I'll still give it a blow. So do keep that in mind. We are also cleaning the fan. As for the vents, let's take a look right here. They are quite okay, but I will still also give it a blow. As for the thermal paste, this is definitely not good. As you can see here, it's a bit dry, I guess. So, focus. This is gonna get cleaned out. This is gonna get cleaned out. And this is also gonna get cleaned out. So isopropyl alcohol will dry out real fast, so you can just leave it a bit damp. Not something that you have to worry about actually. Then we'll open up the second pack here. Always be careful not to bend the heat pipe, because that will definitely affect your cooling performance, but just rest it like this and then you should be fine. But also please be careful. So with that wiped, now it's time for this. Okay, so that's everything gone. Not sure why there's some stain. I can't really wipe that off, but yeah. So with everything cleaned up, so as you can see here, both sides of the heat pipe here has been cleaned up. The focus is a bit weird, but you get the idea. And then this copper pad is clean, and this piece of heat shield is also cleaned up as well. And now it's time to reapply the thermal paste. So what I'm gonna do is just to use some generic thermal paste that I have. This is actually from a PC installation video that we had earlier this year, I think. And this is just a spare tube of thermal paste. So let's apply it right now. The perfect amount of thermal paste, as what Tronics Fake says, is kind of up for debate here because the switch is so small. I'm just gonna apply this amount to here, and then I'm gonna now screw in the thing first, but I will also need to screw in the fan as well. This is a bit of a bad sequence, but I'll skip ahead. And now for the heatsink, remember not to squish this speaker cable. What you have to do is to position it correctly. Okay, now it's screwed in. Remember, finger tight is good enough. You don't have to screw it super tight. And now we have to take our thermal paste, apply once again to the top part here because it will make contact with the heat shield above. And for this one, we can apply a little bit more liberally because yeah, it doesn't really matter that much because it's a double layer heat conduction. It's not gonna be that efficient, so not sure how much this piece is gonna help in terms of thermal dissipation, but we'll still do it. And now with everything plugged in, we have to double check. Yes. And now it's time to put this back in. Again, give it a bit of a squish. And then we can screw everything back in. I'm just gonna skip ahead. After all of that is done, we booted up Breath of the Wild once again and stand in the exact same spot for an hour once again, and then we can see the data difference. To my surprise, the temperature is only at around 56 degrees Celsius and the fan rotation level dropped to only about 39%. That's impressive actually. But the performance didn't change. It is still at around 20 FPS and both the CPU and GPU frequencies are also identical. However, when we started to run around Korok Forest, then the temperature rose to around 59 degrees Celsius, but the fan is still below 42%, which is still an improvement overall. What I suspect here though is that Nintendo set a thermal limit to about 60 degrees Celsius while the fan speed adjusts dynamically to maintain that temperature. This actually makes sense since the fan can run slower if possible, hence there is less wear and tear, less noise, and also less dust gets sucked into the Switch itself. So with all of that done, I'm pretty happy with the results. It might not seem like much since I cleaned the Nintendo Switch like about 2 years ago, but if your Switch is already a few years old, then I highly recommend you to do what we have showed in this video because it will just help you improve your experience with this device overall. Just don't expect it to magically increase the performance though. So if you have any other questions, do leave them down in the comment section below. We'll be happy to answer them. And remember to subscribe because we'll be swapping out the joysticks to the Hall Effect Sensing joysticks sent by GuliKit right here. Yay!